Good morning, my brothers and my sisters. I'm going to act like I'm in church this morning. And in church, you know, they bring you up and bring you a little closer if you're in the back. And I want to kind of bring my Omega brothers a little closer. Now, this is the Omega brothers. Oh, are they black and gold? They may be saying, I ain't sure if we want them that close anyway. I went to a funeral the other day, and I was real excited about the Omegas in the house. And then my friend got up and said that the heaven, the streets of gold, was not gold, but they was gold and purple. I said, oh, Lord, I'm in trouble. Again, we are so delighted to come to this place. And as in our tradition, if you will, can we share a word of prayer as we start? Eternal God, Creator, we've come to this place of awareness. And you know the issues of community, you know the issues of cancer. Now, Lord, there's a story to be told, and all of us have a story to be told. And in our story, we pray that this will be an education, and that out of our education, we can educate and re-educate our communities. So we claim this sharing together, this koinonia, this friendship, this brotherhood, this sisterhood. In the name of Christ we pray, amen. Again, we are so delighted to enter into partnership. And that's what I kind of hear this morning, the partnership with the football. Is this football, brothers? NFL? This the real NFL? This the real deal? And to be totally honest, when I showed my daughter the flyer, she was so excited. Somebody, I think he was a baseball player and he was a football player. Yeah, I got him. There he is. But for you all to take on a cause for community, and we're challenged to leave our ecclesiastical and our great positions to really come and to do some real work in the community. You're to be commended. And again, we thank you for the partnership. And the A.M.E. Church, I've been sharing with my district, with my bishop, that we can no longer just hoop and holler on Sunday morning and talk about the problems, but we've got to create fellowships, and we've got to create koinonia, we've got to create groups with persons to make a difference in our community. So today we start this partnership, and we're excited about it, and it does not yet appear what it shall be. Now there is I'm the elder, but I'm not the pastor, and the real pastor is the Reverend Dr. Vandy Simmons. Dr. Simmons, is there anything you need to say, anything I need to say? Just greet us.
Good morning and welcome.
Again, we look forward to this great day. I've been excited about it because I know that something good is going to happen. And if we get together, we can save lives. My real testimony is my best friend, Paul Hunt. He had surgery on Thursday for cancer. And I have been moved beyond measure that we've got to get out and tell the story, We got to tell the story to the brothers because the brothers aren't coming, and we've got to tell them, and we've got to tell them. So I'm looking forward, we're looking forward to what God is going to do, what we can do together in this place. And again, welcome, as they say in old school, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Dr. Roan. And what Elder Roan, it's great to be here today. It's definitely a pleasure and an honor to be before all of you today. This is a special day to be able to come together with something such as great as this for a partnership like this. We have a special thanks also, not just to the church. Elder Roan, have a special thank you to Nikki Hayes for making this all possible. It is like a year in the coming, bringing this all together to give us an opportunity to be here before you here in Atlanta. And so it's a special day. So we thank Nikki because without Nikki, none of this is possible. So thank you very much, Nikki. One of the things with the NFL alumni, we're very fortunate to be a part of a campaign like this. It is very special. This is a special message, with colorectal cancer, we as men coming together with this. One of our missions with the NFL alumni is caring for community, caring for our own, and caring for kids. And community is what brought us here together today, because this is community. That is our mission in bringing us together. And by doing so, focusing on colorectal cancer and what it does to all of us have been affected in one way or another, near or far with cancer, and this gives us the opportunity to come together and talk about it and to help our brethren and give us a good opportunity to attack something and be proactive with something that is preventable and something that we can do something about. So we are very excited about that. I'd like to also let you know some of the individuals that we brought with us today from the NFL alumni. We're very pleased. We already mentioned Brian Jordan, former Atlanta Falcon and all-star baseball player with the Braves here. You guys know Brian. Very fortunate to have Brian here. Thank you very much, Brian, for attending. We also have Perry Kemp, a former wide receiver with the Green Bay Packers. He's a Packer backer, He's a cheesehead, any cheeseheads in here. You can always work your way over to Perry, and he'll take care of you. The great Terry Mathis, former All-Pro wide receiver with the Atlanta Falcons and head coach of Morehouse. Right now, he is special in our heart. He's taking care of not only the players, but raising young men to be great citizens in the state of Georgia and the city of Atlanta. So thank you, Terrence. We have Brad Hopkins, former All-Pro lineman with the Tennessee Titans and Houston Oilers. Brad does a great job. He's one of our ambassadors as well. So thank you, Brad, for making the trek down. What's that? Me and Brad had many battles in practice, so we go back a long ways. So, and myself, I'm Al Smith. Some of you know, former pro linebacker with the Houston Oilers, worked in the front office with the Tennessee Titans many years, and I'm now the lead ambassador of the NFL Alumni Association. So it is a pleasure to come down and meet all of you and be a part of this and being able to talk about something that is so important in our lives, in our families' lives, in our futures, in our kids' lives, and being able to get that message and pass it along to our sons, our families, to keep our legacy going. So we appreciate you all being here. We appreciate everyone as well. We have a great staff here as well. Janet Marchabroda, our executive director with the NFL Alumni, is here as well, behind the scenes, making a lot of great things happen for us. So thank you, Janet, for having us to be here. We have Katrina Smith, who will be taking pictures. So she's not, taking your picture and going to, put it all over the world, but she's going to do some social media for us and take care of us and take care of you guys and be able to get this message out so everyone near and far can get this message as well. So thank you, Katrina, for being here as well. So we thank you all. So to get to keep the program going, I'd like to bring up, I'd like to also thank, obviously, Omega Psi Phi. Omega Psi Phi brothers are in the house. So thank you guys for being here, because without you guys and getting this message out to our brethren, it's very vital, because it really helps us get this message and be able to carry it on and bringing it to the brethren and be able to get guys to get tested and prevent things that could be preventable. So we really appreciate you guys, because this couldn't happen without you guys being here. So we appreciate you guys being here and getting the message out and continue to spread the message so we can continue to build on this fight. So we thank you guys very much. Dr. Shelton, I would like to bring you up. I really appreciate you being here and your brethren as well. So thank you very much. Pass it on to you. And thank you guys for being here. Look forward for some good discussion and be open and honest and be able to help one another. Everyone's experience is, we've all been touched in some way. I've been touched. A lot of the players have been touched by this. So open up and being able to talk about it, because we can help one another in this fight. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. So first of all, I am not a pastor, so I will not be giving any scriptures today. But I couldn't let your comment about the black and gold thing go unnoticed. We are in the Lenten season this year, and if we could right now, if these were pulled back, what are the colors that are up on the pulpit right now, sir? So if you ever have if you don't remember what colors are, just look at the pulpit and you'll be able to see. Remember, you'll never forget that again. Okay, thank you, Reverend Roan, and thank you, Al, wherever you went. There you go. Say thank you, Al. On behalf of the Beta Lambda Lambda chapter of Omega Psi Phi and Fraternity Incorporated, I would like to thank the NFL alumni for allowing us to be a partner with you today. I thank Ms. Marchabroda and Ms. Hayes, there you are, for inviting us. Unfortunately, our boss list and our executive committee are in our district meetings and could not attend the function today. However, so you're stuck with me. So, I appreciate my brothers all coming out here today. Omega Psi Phi, Beta Lambda Lambda chapters, give it up for them. We are in Gwinnett County. We are the Gwinnett County chapter, extremely active in our community, and cancer awareness has become a focal point of our chapter, because it hits very close to home. As one of our members who is here today, and this is not a HIPAA violation, because I did already ask him if I could mention him today, and I'm going to have him stand. Brother John Calloway is currently is in cancer treatment and will be a cancer survivor. So it actually hits very close to home for us. But we thank you today for allowing us to partner with you. We hope this is going to be a long and fruitful partnership, and we look forward to future events. Without further ado, though, let's get us back on schedule. I am also asked to introduce our moderator for today's activities. You all know him as a former safety from the Atlanta Falcons and an all-star outfielder for the Atlanta Braves. However, I'm from St. Louis. I grew up my family's from St. Louis, and I believe he started his career in St. Louis. So I don't know how many. I know he's an Atlanta boy now, but he was a son of St. Louis for a little while too. So we remember him as an outfielder with the Cardinals. So even though I am not a Cardinals fan. But without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Brian Jordan.
Sorry, Pastor, I'm walking on this right here. Sorry about that. It's not. Well, I must say, thank you guys for having me as a moderator. This is near and dear to my heart. I lost both my parents to cancer, so I hate cancer. And, just like all African-American men, we are prideful. We take going to the doctor not as serious as we should. And my father was the same way. He was a heavy man who didn't like going to see the doctor, and finally saw the doctor when it was almost too late. And the fact that my dad was a heavy man, he definitely didn't want to have surgery to remove his colon. So he went through the seed process, and that seed process worked temporarily, and cancer spread to his bladder, and I lost my dad. My mom had liver cancer. So we're going to be talking about this today, how important family history is, because I learned a lot from my family history just based on my parents, and how important it is for me to not be as prideful, to make sure that I focus on my health and focus on going to the doctor and getting screened and getting blood work so that I can be ahead of the game. Just as in sports, I want to be ahead of the game. We got to worry about our health. We got to be ahead of the game and give yourself the best chance to survive. So I am happy to be here, and we have some great guests here today, which I'm going to introduce. Starting with Shanta Chambers, which she reminded me did not call her Shantae because her dad would come find me and get on my case. But she's the Executive Vice President, Health Equity Initiatives and Community Engagement, Patient Advocate Foundation, and she will be focusing on the prevalence here in Georgia with colon cancer. So get ready. And now Edward Levert, Dr. Edward Levert, MD, Assistant Professor of Medicine, Department of Digestive Diseases, co-intern, Clinical Department Director, Service Chief, A.M.E St. Joseph Hospital in Dunwoody, Site Director of Fellowship Programs, and that's at Emory University. And he will be focusing on the importance of screening and survivorship. No pressure. And Sydney Snyder, Director of Clinical and Screening Programs, Advanced Clinical Genomics Nurse Practitioner, Oncology Nurse Navigator, Georgia Center of Oncology Research and Education, and she will be focused on family history, which I talked about, how important that is. So thank you guys for being here, and we're going to jump right into the questions. And first question is for Ms. Chambers. Can you give us a sense of landscape here in Georgia when it comes to colorectal cancer? How prevalent is colorectal cancer in our region, and can colorectal cancer be prevented? I know, we had to, here, you can use this.
I have the green mic because it has meaning.
There you go.
All right, here we go. So that's a lot. Incidence, prevention, and what was the third part?
Can it be prevented?
Can it be prevented?
Yes.
So I'm going to go with yes. So I'll start the last question and go backwards. So yes, cancer, colon cancer can be prevented. However, there are no guarantees in terms of things that can prevent it, but there are things that we can all do to prevent, to reduce our risk. Those are things like physical activity. When I talked with Brad earlier, I said, you know how we drive around the parking lot for like 20 minutes trying to wait for that space number 3? Space number 33 is open. Let's go ahead and park at space number 33 and get a little physical activity walking from that to the door. Or when we're sitting and waiting, if we have kids that are in sports, while we're sitting at practice, while they're being active and we're just actively observing, what if we got out and did a little walking while they're practicing and doing things like that? What if we actually took it on as a policy initiative in our communities when we know people don't have safe places to be physically active, and work with the local schools that have tracks and say, hey, can you open up your track after school so the people in the community can come and be active? So physical activity. And they say you are what you eat. If that was true and we are what we eat, when we look in the mirror, what will we see? Will we feathers. We would see feathers, right? So it's so critically important that that we make sure that to the degree possible that we do engage in healthy eating. That's our fruits, that's our vegetables, those are whole grains. We're reducing processed foods and red meat. So I guess his chicken is all right, but reducing those types of things. And if we're smoking, anything, don't make it up, whether it's tobacco, whether it's hookah, whether it's cigarillos, whether it's weed, whatever it is, we have to quit smoking. There is a free resource here in Georgia, the Georgia Tobacco Quit Line, that is a free resource to anyone here in this state, and you can reach them by dialing 1-877-270-STOP. Tobacco use, especially menthol use, is the most prevalent type of tobacco use in our communities. And that is because for those of us who are a little bit more melanated, we're more prone to become addicted to menthol. R.J. Reynolds knew that. They knew all of that. So that is why there's such a heavy promotion of menthol products in communities of color, because they know that once we are addicted to menthol, it is going to be nearly impossible for us to quit. So I don't know whose stock option I just messed up, but you'll be all right. And then moderating our alcohol consumption. These are all things that we can do to reduce our risk for colon cancer. And then there are some things we just have to understand, like our family history. Let's have these conversations with our family so that we know what our family died from. And let's also have conversations around genetic testing. We don't tend to talk about genetic testing in families of color. We have to stop muting everything and elevating the wrong thing. Act like it's the latest football team that you're excited about. I don't know, get creative. Find a way to incorporate colon cancer conversations into everything. The barbecue, the fish fry, the tunk championship that you're gonna have at the house, whatever it is, find a way to incorporate this message, because the person sitting next to you is depending on you. Because I'm gonna give you the data. 17.9 men per 100,000. So for every 100,000 men in Georgia, 17 of them will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer. You know the worst part about that 17.09 is that 58% of black men will die from colorectal cancer. So if I'm telling you 17 will be diagnosed and over 58% of them are going to die, that's over half. So we applaud your frat brother, because guess what? He's already a survivor. He was a survivor when he got that diagnosis and decided that he was not going to just sit on the dock of the bay and watch, but fight. So we're going to commend him for already being a survivor. And then to wrap this up, we currently rank 39th as a state in terms of colorectal cancer screening. If it wasn't for a few more states under us, we would be at the bottom. It's time out for Georgia to be nearly at the bottom of everything that's bad. But every one of us in this room could do something to change that so that we don't stay at number 39. That means that's a great opportunity for us to go up, so that this 17.09 can come back down and be closer at least to the U.S. average. Let's do this together for the men and the women in our lives, because we can prevent colon cancer, we can also detect it early, and more importantly, we can treat it.
All right, thank you so much. And I
yes,
must...
Can we have a good doctor add to that, please?
Sure, come on, this is wide open.
Green mic.
I'll take the green mic. Okay. First, I'm not as eloquent, as passionate as you in your delivery, so excuse me for being a little dry comparatively to her. So I just wanted to add a little bit to what she was saying about preventing colorectal cancer. So each and every one of you all, once you go and you see a doctor like me, and I'm a gastroenterologist, I perform this procedure. So when you come and see me and I do the procedure and I remove a lesion or something of this sort, I reduce your risk of getting colorectal cancer by over 80%, right there. So you can see the importance of me coming to a doctor like me to get the test done to reduce your overall cancer risk. And it's very important that everyone, like she was saying, starting at age 45 for every single person in this room to get that test done. African American males are terrible about getting this test done. And, you know, there may be some, you know, bravado, what have you, whatever you want to say or so forth. But get over it and get the test done. You know, you're not the only butt I will have seen that day. They're a lot better butts also than you all's. But also, to belay that point, it's just important that you all can get a test done that can theoretically reduce your chances of getting colorectal cancer by 80%. And I just want to emphasize a little bit to this as well, is that it's the only screening test that we have done in our healthcare system that actually is effective in reducing and eliminating colorectal cancer. So every other test is a marker to see, okay, you might have something there. Well, when they see something, it's already too late. But when you come and see me and I remove a polyp, which is a precursor to that, I just decrease your risk of getting cancer.
And it's okay to be put to sleep, because I made them put me to sleep before they did all that. But
Everyone goes to sleep.
say everybody's asleep. Oh, I thought that was special, man. I thought. Yes, you got a question out there?
Yeah, I have a question just in regards to the age when you should start getting this done. I myself, I lost my father to colon cancer, and I lost my grandfather to colon cancer. So I had my first colonoscopy at, I think, 37 because of the family history. And I think I had another one at 40. I had a few polyps removed. So now I'm on the track where you got to get it done every, what, 2 years?
It's 3 to 5 usually.
So my question is, I also found out recently that for the PSA test, they're saying that you should get it done earlier than later. What is the age limit now? Because before it was like 40, 45. Should we start getting tested like in our late 30s, early 40s as well? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So in regards to for colorectal cancer, it's typically 45. Historically, it used to be 50 for everyone, but because of African Americans and our increased risk of getting colorectal cancer, the society has moved it to age 45. Now, it's 45 for everyone now because colorectal cancer is beginning to creep up at an earlier and earlier age for everyone. So if I'm Yes, so it used to be that if you were in your early 40s or so forth, or mid 40s, you didn't have an elevated risk. But now, if you were born after 1990, now you have 2 times the risk as you did if you were born earlier than that, or even 4 times the risk for rectal cancer if you were born in your 90s as well too. So everyone should start to get their first test at age 45, and then you can be risk stratified from there based on the findings. And to what she was saying earlier about family history, please get your family history right because it's important. I don't want to have to do an extra test or have you come back earlier or so forth if you can't discern or tell me if your grandmother had colon cancer or if your father had colorectal cancer or so forth. It's really important to ask your parents and so forth to know exactly what they had, because then we can risk stratify you and tell you, okay, I need for you to come back in 5 years. Or no, you know what, your great-great-grandfather, no, you don't have to get this test done every 5 years. You can come back if it's normal in 10 years, so forth, because we also don't want to perform unnecessary tests on you as well.
And also, for insurance purposes, for those individuals who do have a family history, you can actually petition your insurance company for approval for screening prior to the regular screening age. So that is another reason why knowing that family history is significantly important, because in your case, you needed to start to be screened earlier. And oftentimes insurance will not cover anything that's outside of the normal screening age.
Not sure about that one.
I will say that the name of the game is awareness and advocacy. We need to be aware and we need to be able to advocate for ourselves and our families.
All right. So for me, I know a lot of you guys are all athletes, right? Grew up playing sports. And so many times, and I've seen it so many times, how, playing in the NFL, Major League Baseball, you're so focused on staying healthy, keeping yourself in the best shape possible, eating right. And then, as soon as you retire, it's like, I don't have to do this anymore. And that's where we see a lot of guys gaining weight, not eating the right nutrition, not exercising. We can't afford to do that. Take care of your body. Maintain that physical, I got to get up, work out, do something today, walk. Walking is the most important thing that you need to do. So let's get that in our mind too. We got to stay healthy, Don't give up. So this next question, Dr. LeBert, we heard about preventing. So why aren't more individuals getting screened? What do you see as the barriers? And can you talk about how this challenge can be overcome?
So, being in the medical community, I'll own part of the problem. Part of the problem is us. When you go to see your doctor, only about 70% of the time will they recommend that you all get the test done. Your primary care doctors or so forth are not the best. Now, obviously, when you come and see someone like me that does this on a daily basis, you're going to get that question. But a lot of times when you go just for your routine checkup or so forth, that may not be in their mind. And so a lot of times that question will be missed by your primary care physician or so forth. And so we need to do a better job on our side about promoting this and making sure that everyone gets the test done. And there are things that are being done through the government and so forth to mandate that, hey, you need to make sure that all of your patients and so forth get this test done, otherwise we're going to be penalized, which is great because they should be penalized if they don't offer this test to you. Because I can't tell you how many times, even yesterday, someone came in and she's 60-something years old and it's her first test done. My first thing when I looked at her and I said, you realize you're 20 years behind on this test. So luckily everything was fine, but the point of it is that somewhere down throughout her years of seeing physicians, that question was missed on whether or not she should have had this test done. Now, for everyone else in the room, I get why you don't want to have the test done. I get why you don't want to have to sit there, drink this stuff, be on the toilet for I don't know how long, until you say, I don't know why it's still coming out. I don't understand what's going on here. I get that. I totally get that. And I also get that for people, I don't know, let's just say you're a truck driver and you have to take the day off from work. You're going to miss that day of income. And the person that's going to have to come with you is also going to have to miss their day of income as well, too. I get there's a financial burden to it. But, the other side of that is that, you take this day off, and if I find something or so forth, you know what? You know what you're not doing? You're not going to see the oncologist every couple of weeks. You're not going to see all of these other doctors or so forth from there to deal with whatever issues have occurred from my findings. Also on there, there's just a general mistrust being from the African American community about physicians as well, too. And, you're just going to have to get over it. I hate to say this, but, we just need to say, okay, I'm 45. I have plenty of people that come and see me and then say, I'm 45, I want to get this test done. And so when they go and see their doctor, they speak or they talk about that to their physician and it gets done. And so there are a multitude of issues or things that occur from this. And even in regards to the test itself, there may be some trepidation or concern about getting the test done, but the test is really, really, really simple. So you come into the room and you're having the procedure done, we give you some medication. And I always tell people they're always concerned about feeling pain or being awake or so forth like that. And I always tell people, and it's probably not the best thing to say, but I always tell them I could hit you in the head with a hammer right now during this procedure and you won't move based on this medication. So, and I, you know, sometimes I'm a little crude. I'm sorry.
You said that with a straight face, too.
Yeah, I do. And I'm just like, you. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get my point across to the people to let them know that you won't feel anything and everything is okay from there. So, and after it's all done, we tell you what's occurred, what was removed. You go about your day the next day as if nothing has changed. Go ahead.
Question?
I didn't really know, coming, what I was coming for. Brother asked us to come out and support and do everything. So for the last couple of months, my stomach has just been hurting really bad. And I talked to Brother Buck about it. It's like, I don't know what's going on. My stomach is hurting. I was like, well, I probably need to go see a doctor. So I went and seen the doctor, had another issue going on. And he asked me, have you ever got a colonoscopy? I'm 55, so I know I was behind the 8 ball. So I was, just been so nervous about it, like, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. So I just went ahead, I set the appointment. I just got the colonoscopy on Thursday. So everything that you talked about, I just went through that, and I was nervous. I was like, please knock me out. I told the nurse, don't be putting that in my butt. All of that stuff, just, trying to get through the day, but everything, and at the end of the day, I had 2 polyps. They removed them. I guess I'm good. So they told me to come back in 3 years, so I got a personal, it just hit home to me because this just happened, and I was just so worried about drinking the liquid and all of that good stuff. Well, not good stuff. Just doing that for that day. So if you haven't done it, go get it done. It's not bad at all, but it's something that will definitely help you. And I feel much better knowing that, because I was thinking that my stomach's hurt, I just don't want to have cancer. But like I said, you got the polyps out, and I'm good.
Thank you for that testimony. Really appreciate that.
Doc, I had a question. Do you, for those men that actually do go to their regular PCPs, do you think there's still racial bias about them offering the test to men of color as opposed to their Caucasian counterparts?
That's a difficult question to ask, or answer, I should say, because I live in a weird dynamic where I am the black doctor, so when they see their black patients, they send their black patients to me and so forth a lot, so, it clicks in their head for that. And I would like to say in this litigious turf world that the answer is no, but yes, I could probably assume that some of that still goes on to this day, yeah.
So the reason I ask is because sometimes we have to be a little bit more proactive on our own health and say, hey, aren't I supposed to get this test? I'm 46. Aren't I supposed to get this test? By being in forums like this and being educated about what we should be asking for when we go to our doctor. Same like a PSA test also.
Sure. I think that everyone should be proactive. It shouldn't take, as an example, like a Chadwick Boseman is it Boseman, right? Yeah. To sort of educate people to get this test done. I see it a lot, particularly when I do see a 45-year-old African-American male, usually it's because they just had a child and they don't want to get sick and they want to make sure they're around for their children. And so, again, to what you were saying before, he's exactly right. The worst part of it, sir, was probably you just spending your night on the toilet there, but beyond that, everything else was easy.
All right, Dr. Snyder.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry to keep yapping. on this. So you can do a colonoscopy, but you don't have to do a colonoscopy. If someone in this room is just absolutely terrified about showing their butt or whatever, or doing the procedure or so forth like that, there are other non-invasive ways of getting screened for colorectal cancer. So there are other types of tests where you can check your stool for blood, or they can check your stool for DNA. I'm sure all of y'all, with this being the NFL, and when you watch an NFL game, you see the commercial for Cologuard on there. And it's targeting every single one of you guys in the room that doesn't want to get this test done. So that, but yeah, so that's another way of detecting for DNA that gets shedded from the actual lesion or polyp or so forth that's there. Now, if it's positive, if one of those tests are positive, it's just like, if someone tells you they're pregnant, you can't ignore it. You have to get something done about that test. So that's it.
So now I got a question for you.
Say that again? I support that. I think the answer is I support any test that gets done. So Cologuard is a good test for most people in this room. For someone like this gentleman that was speaking earlier with a family history, it's not the ideal test for him. But for a person that does not have a family history and knows their family history, then Cologuard is approaching about 80 to 90% of what a colonoscopy would detect.
So let me ask you a question. I know for me, I hate when the doctor pulls out the glove and check you out. Now I'm hearing from doctors that it's no longer necessary to do that because they can do it from the blood, right?
You do not, well, yeah, and that's another thing I forgot about for people being concerned about. No, there is no reason for the glove and the finger anymore, and that actually applies to, that applies to PSA.
Now, doctor, now these guys may go see the doctor now. All right. Yes.
Is there actual scientific evidence to support that? Yes. Because I am a prostate cancer survivor. My PSA never got above 1. The digital rectal exam is what diagnosed my prostate cancer. I went to 4 different doctors and to get it verified, because my PSA was never above 1. But my primary care doctor said he felt something. And the other 3 doctors, I ended up going to a place in Chattanooga that did it's not an MRI, but it's another
CAT scan?
Not a CAT scan. It's a biopsy. No, I had 3 biopsies. One of them gave me an infection, and stayed in the hospital 3 days for the doggone biopsy. But it was another. It's not MRI, but no, not CAT scan. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, they did 4 different quadrants of my prostate, and they did find it in two quadrants with that exam in Chattanooga. And my PSA still, after they even found it, never got above 1. And I got the seeds and also did radiation, and my PSA did drop to undetectable, but it never got above 1. So, if I had gone by what you're saying, I may still be trying to go around with this prostate cancer inside of me. And then I was told different times that there's some that grow slow, and then you can watch it, and then there's some that grows fast. The reason why I went ahead is because the guy I worked with, his father had it, and they told him they were going to watch it for a year. Well, he died before the year was up. And when he told me that, I was like, okay, well, that's not going to be me. I'm going forward and go ahead and get this out of my body. So that's why I asked that question, is there, because I do have a cousin who is a doctor, and she said about 10 years ago, they started telling them, the primary care doctors, you don't have to do these as much. You don't have to do these as much, just do the PSA. And she said she wasn't sure about whether that was accurate or not.
Well, what you have to understand is, and I'm sorry, because I used to work in family practice, so, you know, when you do a digital rectal exam on a man, you're not going to be feeling the entire prostate gland, okay? And so it depends on the provider and their skill at doing a digital rectal of what they may or may not feel, okay? The other thing is, if you're relying on only one thing, you know, like for example with breast cancer, if women only relied on breast self-exam to find breast cancer early, they won't, okay? Because by the time they feel it, it's big and it's not early, okay? So, you know, there are going to be times where things are like that. But in general, the PSA is the best test we have right now that's non-invasive and helps to screen for prostate cancer. And also, if the barrier is the digital rectal exam, and you're not going to do it because you got to do that, well, we want you to get the PSA. So, you know, I don't know if you had any other comments, Dr. Levert.
First of all, I'm not a urologist, but I would say that I think prostate cancer is probably still somewhat poorly understood.
True.
Yeah. I'm aware of the saying that by the time you reach 80 years old, 80% of men will have prostate cancer as well, all of us, but it's not something that we die from, because you don't hear of all of us, you know, dropping left and right from prostate cancer. So, like she was saying, I think if you reduce the barriers to coming into the doctor, I mean, I'm a male too. When I turned, I don't remember when I turned 50, but I was like, oh man, I gotta go in this room, I gotta drop my pants and so forth. I don't wanna do this and so forth. Even me, I was like, I don't wanna get violated like this. I don't wanna do this and so forth. So if it's me, I can only imagine what the layperson in the room is thinking about what's going on here. So, but to reduce that barrier or so forth, to give you guys a way of saying, okay, you know, for colorectal cancer, you can poop in this cup and then send it back to us and so forth, and we can tell you. And so rather than me having to put a finger or your PCP put a finger up there and detect for blood, anything that we can do to increase the overall utilization or screening is better than nothing. And there's going to be some outliers on everything that we do, and you sir probably are an outlier. But but if we get to 90% of people are screened versus, you know, I don't actually know the overall screening rate in Georgia, but if we get to that number or we get to a higher number, we're serving more of the public than we would.
It's under 60% for colon cancer. Yeah.
57% in Georgia.
I think we're going to get the family history, right?
Yes,
Do you want
I'm
to?
about. Doctor, you got the mic. So, you know, sometimes the conversation we try to avoid are the most important ones we should have. Can you talk a little bit about the family history and the cancer risk, especially for breast, uterine, and cervical cancer?
Well, yes. So most cancer in the world is not a hereditary problem, okay? It's an acquired problem. But there are times where cancer runs in a family because of a bad copy of a gene, and it's I don't know. When you started talking, I'm like, you might want to talk to somebody. I don't know if anybody's had that hereditary cancer testing in your family, but that might be appropriate. You know, but family history, even though that most cancer is not hereditary, it is important to help stratify your risk, like Dr. Levert was saying, because if you have a first-degree relative, which are parents, siblings, and children, with a history of colon cancer, that increases your risk. It goes up even more if there's more than one first-degree relative and if somebody was diagnosed at a young age. So a lot happens under the cover of chaos, as we know, okay? And part of chaos is not knowing what's going on with your family, what's going on with your body. So don't let that chaos cause you to not get screened. Find out about your family history. Have those hard conversations. Get your screening done. As Dr. Levert said, the best test is the one that gets done. So that's what we are trying to do, try to promote people talking about their family history and understanding their risk, okay? So, I think it's great that you are being an advocate for your family. And it is hard to talk about family history. There's a lot of, people don't like talking about that, Aunt Sue's like, I don't want to talk about that, but you have to have those conversations because, it impacts everybody, not just you.
Well, awesome. This has been great, and I know we got some other panelists that.
Can I say one more thing too?
Yes.
To the prep, okay? Sometimes if you know the reason for the prep, it makes it maybe a little bit more tolerable. If they can't see, they can't remove the polyp, okay? So that's why you're doing the prep, so they can see what they need to remove.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it over to President of the Atlanta chapter here, Perry Kemp. And we got Terrence Mathis and Dr. Levert on this next panel, right?
As a defensive guy, they're always confused. We're offensive guys where we take control. They got to defend. We're going to open it up to open questions, and the first one's going to come from Terrence, if you don't mind, our all-pro wide receiver, number 81, as I am. Great number.
I don't want to be so stuffy with this. My question is for you survivors in here. After you're diagnosed and everything, and you no longer have cancer, what are some of the obstacles and what are some of the things that you go through afterwards? I know you're relieved afterwards, but do you go back to the lifestyle you've had before, or do you change your lifestyle?
One, you said going back to your lifestyle. I actually went through prostate cancer 3 years ago. I did that, which is just fine. And beforehand, I did a lot of walking, a lot of exercise. I don't look like it now, but and most recent, and I did do the polyps at an age. I did it at 50. So I've been through both sides of it, and I did find myself making some old eating habits, and then of course the weight came back, and now I'm going through another surgical procedure. I found myself, hey, think about what you did right, to get your body right, to get your mind right, so I won't have those, so those cancers won't come back, those cells won't come back, the tissue won't come back. I kind of liked it for me. I kind of enjoyed it because I have a science background. So I kind of understood the analysis and what they was going through, but yes, I think when I found myself making some of my traditional choices in history with eating and exercise, that like most recently I went through, my urologist said my PSA had a little small bump. And it kind of scared me a little bit. I'm like, man, you've been doing everything good now, but that historical eating, not exercising, it kind of like, okay, it made me aware that I had to go back to doing the things I did when I first got diagnosed. Change your diet, get back, and like Brian said earlier, I just walk. I'm walking slow now because I need replacement surgery too. But the walking, the change of eating habits is making a big difference. And once you do that, I think once you change the mind, you can definitely change the body. And I surrounded myself with people who went through it. I've actually coached about 5 or 6 people as they're going through it. So yeah, that change of mind and not wanting to go back. Right. I think you have to be an advocate for your own health, even without the family history. Because I'm an individual, when I first got diagnosed with prostate cancer, I called everybody on my mom's side, because that's what I was raised by, and we understand that. Didn't have a lot of history on my dad's side of him growing up, but I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, what happened on this side of the family? And I got no from both sides, so I didn't have any family history. That made me, I guess, stronger. I don't have no history, so I'm the origin. I'm the pioneer.
Right.
And then I just made changes.
Yeah. Well, you also mentioned a fear factor. Now,
Yeah.
how, after you get all this removed and you're cancer-free whatsoever, in your mind, do you ever think that it can happen again? Or, I know we changed our lifestyle so it won't happen again, but some of us who may down the road have cancer, we just want to know afterwards, what's the process of your mental state, your physical state, and just your emotional state?
Mentally, I think I had my darkest moments when I was by myself. I think that's when it creeps in. The way it crept in for me,
Right.
when I was by myself. So I avoided those times. I reached out to my social support system. And then it made it better.
There you go.
I'd like to say something on what the brother said. As far as for me, I had esophageal cancer. And I think that when you talk about the fear factor, and my story doesn't have to be everybody else's story, but for me, as far as the fear factor, I think it was so traumatizing for me that it's almost like I feel like I'm living with PTSD. I don't know whether I can ever say I don't have cancer anymore. You know, they talk about it being in remission, but yet and still I'm taking scans and going back and forth, and I had immunotherapy, and I'm still always looking over my shoulder for it. So I'm always in fear that it may come back. So that to me right now is never going away. I'll be going on my 3rd year since I had surgery. But when I had surgery, I feel like I probably came back from the brink of death at least twice. I was in the hospital for a month and a half. My stomach was removed. I lost 60, 70 pounds. I still can't talk. That's from all the radiation going into my chest. I feel a lot better now mentally, but you know, where your mind goes, your body goes. So that's one thing. You do have to stay positive and be positive and feel like, you know, at some point when I first had my surgery and I woke up, I figured, I said, if I wake up from this, I'll be all right. I know I'm gonna fight. So I had thought that if they said they got all the cancer, that my cancer treatment basically would have been over. I had already had radiation. I had chemo before surgery. And then if I wake up for the doctor to tell me we got it all, well, I'm good. So I had already told my wife that if I had to go through that again, that whole process with the radiation and the chemo, I don't think I would do it. I had made peace. And I said, you know, because I had some time. I had some time before that. But after I came to my senses, the doctor told me when I'm getting ready to get out of the hospital, the doctor said, well, I need to set you up for this immunotherapy. I'm like, what's that? To me, they tell you, well, it's not chemo, but they putting it in my port, and it's, from what they tell me about it, I said, to me, in my mind, that's still some chemo. You can call it what you want, but I got to do this for a whole year after I had surgery. But yet and still, you say, I don't have cancer, but I'm still doing this immuno. So, you know, I made it through all that, but the doctor had said after I had gone through I was at my 2 year, he said with this type of cancer, because I had what they call gastroesophageal, my cancer was right in the middle of my esophagus and at the beginning of my stomach. So it affected two systems, not only my digestive, but also my eating. So even after almost 2 years, he said 2 years, I had a year after surgery, they go from your surgery date as far as, reoccurrence, your percentage of reoccurrence. After 2 years, I was only at 50% that it wouldn't reoccur. And to me, 50%, that don't sound good to me. After all what I went through, you're talking about 2 years, and I feel like I'm still not out of the woods yet. But if you make it to 3 years, you go exponentially, you're at 75% that it won't occur. So I'm almost, thank God, in November it'll be 3 years from surgery. So I found it took me 2 years to almost feel like I got it beat. I used to spend more time thinking about when I was gonna die than thinking about living. And that was the thing for me. It's something else. I mean, this word, this cancer thing is something. So for everybody, it's a fight, but it can be won. And everybody got a story. So I'm glad to be here. And what everybody said has been so true. From the mental thing, from the fear of the test, from the DNA testing. Because my family, I had a sister and brother that had cancer, but it was so long ago, I didn't even think about it. But once the doctor said we couldn't find out what was going on with me, so he said, maybe we need to do this test. And come to find out, my family has some genes they say everything else straight, but you got a couple of them in your in the trunk area that's make you susceptible, and make the women susceptible to ovarian cancer, the men, colon cancer. My sister had kidney cancer, but it was so long ago.
Lynch syndrome. Lynch syndrome.
I don't know what they call it, but
I think that's what you're going for.
but I got a susceptibility to this type of cancer. I mean, it takes so long.
Is anybody else? He's got his mic in his hand first.
Okay. You talking about what happens after the surgery. Fear, and I'm a pastor, so y'all can, I have an advantage. I spend a lot of time with the Lord, and I use that acronym, false expectations appearing real. And so I attacked cancer in my body the same way I attack everything else. You're gonna have to show me. I'm gonna do whatever I can to take care of the situation. And cancer gonna have to show me that it's different. Now, on the real side, when you're talking about treating prostate cancer, there are some things that can happen to your body. Loss of ability to control urination, loss of the ability to get the morning wood, and sometimes even the afternoon wood, and sometimes the midnight wood. It's all of that. All of that's possible. All of that's possible. But you don't get no wood in the coffin. Okay, so as long as it's a possibility that I was able to still live my life the way I used to live it, I wanted to live. And so that's the way I look at it. I'd rather be alive dealing with what's a possibility than to be dead and not even have an opportunity to, see my grandchildren, see my children. There are some things, but those things are not guaranteed. There are some people who are living with, being treated, don't have any of those after effects. And there are some people that do have a little bit and some people that have a lot. Whether you're gonna have it or not should not be your concern. Your concern should be is whether I'm going to live or not. And that's the way I looked at it. That's the way I look at just about everything. What can I do? What's the best chance for me to continue being productive, to continue to being alive, and stop worrying about what might happen or what could happen. Reject all of that in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, that they are able to do what he said he could do. And so I try to live that, and that kind of takes those fears and living with that, you know, that feeling that I think a lot of people don't go to the doctor because they're scared what doctor might find. If I don't want the doctor to find cancer, I don't want the doctor to find it. He ain't gonna find it if you don't go, and we'll find you, you know, in the cemetery with a headstone on it. But if you go, yeah, it's a possibility something's gonna happen. The last thing I want to say is that I think one of the things that we can do is, because I think our problem in our community is our kids don't watch the news like the older people do, and we need to find a way to communicate better with young adults as far as getting these things like this out. There should be more people here. But, you know, we used what we had to communicate this, but they're not interested unless it comes at them from a different perspective. And so we got to figure out how we can communicate with social media in a way that they'll say, okay, I want to go check that out and see what they're talking about. I think that's what we're failing at mostly, because that fear of finding out what's, men gonna have that. You know, I ain't going over there to see that doctor. He mess around and tell me I got cancer, and then I ain't gonna be, no, you're gonna be dead.
I think for me, I have a unique perspective. I'm currently in the belly of the beast right now. Tuesday, I go sit in the chair, 5700 Panola Road, and go through my chemo. Cancer sucks. Colon cancer, this is not what you want, okay? I grew up with eating soul food, those type of things, and pulled back. And one of my running jokes would say, I eat too many greens and collard bread and beans for me to have this type of cancer. How I got introduced to this unfortunate disease, poor diabetes management. There are certain other diseases you have that can cause other diseases, For me, the mindset is to strive to be alive. I want to be more than a cancer survivor. I have gentlemen here that are sitting around me that have called me and said, you sound good. Well, if you know me, you know I'm going to talk that talk. Seabuck right here has given me some information. For Mr. Mathis, our high schools played against each other. I'm one of Coach Godfrey's boys. You take those life lessons and stand strong. And the big thing for me is that my son turned 13 Monday. I have a teenager now, and I have to get him to manhood. So that is my motivation. You talk about what you're going to do afterwards. You have to find. There are men that are sitting around me. We have a common saying that we say to each other. Say, bruh, see it through. And that's what you have to do in this. You have to see this through. You know, we talk about not going to the doctor. My family in Alabama is from the county right next door to Tuskegee. Tuskegee's in Macon County. My family is Lochapoka, the Auburn, Opelika area, right next door. And I have family members to this day in that area still don't want to go to the doctor because of what happened with the Tuskegee experiment. So there are a lot of tentacles out here, and it's going to be forums like these. I told some of my friends that when I get to the other side of this, these types of things are what I'm going to do to put accuracy. You know, nothing against the brothers from 06, but I'm a part of the greatest fraternity in the world. And we are going to get out here. If I have to get out in front of people and say, hey, colon cancer. Like I said, next week is my 6th round of this 12-round fight. And I'm going to win this fight because I have something to live. I have something to live for. So the thing that I would say to anybody that's within the sound of my voice is to get on social media, get on the radio stations, get the information out there. You know, you have people who are doctors. My doctor is Dr. Andre Scott in A.M.E University. He's on the other side of 1911, but he told me, oh, you got this way because you was doing all that hopping. But he took care of me. He took care of me. And it's one of those things that you have to have the mindset of being progressive. It's about your diet. It's about those other things. You all have heard of Chef Boyardee. Well, I think I'm Chef Home Boyardee now because I'm in the house cooking every day now. And I had my friend Aunt Wills go get me some dishwashing liquid because I told her, man, I'm washing dishes every day because I'm cooking every day from scratch. So it's about the seasonings for your food. I have my own homemade fish fry. So you have to find out what you eat. So I would say to anybody in closing is that get the information out there and be loud about it, because we can only save ourselves with this. And like I said, colon cancer is not something that you want. I'm smiling here and doing that, but it's taken a lot of me. But those that know me know that I'm a pit bulldog. I'm gonna talk that talk, and I'm gonna win this. And again, I'm gonna survive this battle.
I'm gonna move on in between all these purple and yellow things. Crimson up here. By the way, they all know. They all know. No, this is where you wanted me to be. All right, this is where you wanted me to be. You're going to walk out of here with your shoulders high and your head high. You're like, PK done touched me. No, my question is, are there resources out there or support out there that you wish you had or want to have now?
Especially for colorectal cancer. There's a lot of information for the pink breast cancer, but there needs to be more for colorectal cancer and the other types of cancer. So it's a many-faceted fight, but you want to make sure there's resources for all. I have a good social worker through the Georgia Cancer Institute, but I'm very good on internet research. When you tell me, John, go look this up, I'm going to dig deep and find it for myself. And I have friends like Dr. Shelton, who's medically trained, they can give you information. But everybody doesn't have that access. That's the reason why I say I'm going to be in the midst of the fight to give you the resources. You know, putting a cookbook together for me to change the way you eat. You know, I can't eat chicken and beer no more, bruh. I have to eat grilled chicken and water. I can't do it anymore. You know, but there's a lot of things that you could do, and it's need for resources. And that's the biggest thing out there is information and resources.
Can we drill down a little bit more when you say resources? What specifically, what we're talking about in terms of resources needed?
Resources like information, support groups. Like for me, for example, you know, if I don't come around stuff like this, I don't know what's going on. You know, I mean, there's nobody out there really talking about it publicly or whatever. These groups here are so important. I didn't know I was supposed to go get my colon checked. I mean, I was told at 50, but no one ever told me to go back. My doctor doesn't even tell me to go, hey man, you need to do this every 2 or 3 years. So I'm learning here too. So this is a great resource for me, but you know, resources could be from the radio, could be from the church, could be from anywhere.
So you're talking about education awareness resources.
Education, yeah.
I just wanted to understand that a little bit more. And the reason I raised that too is one of the things I haven't heard raised in this conversation is even once we begin to raise awareness about the need for early detection screening, we have a significant population of men who are uninsured in the state of Georgia. So that is one of the barriers that I wanted us to raise, because there's a policy and advocacy opportunity around that, because I know many of you have seen the news around the $880 billion proposed reduction to Medicaid. Georgia has not expanded Medicaid. If Georgia had expanded Medicaid, 152,000 men alone would have benefited from such expansion. That expansion would have given them access to be able to screening and things of that nature. So as we think about our path forward, every single one of us has a civic responsibility each year. And if we don't get our men and women who are low income insured, we can get them the information, but they still won't have access, because we know that insurance is the gateway to health care. The absence of insurance, and that gate becomes a wall that is closed. So as you think about next steps, think about the policy lever that can be activated so that we also increase access to insurance so that folks can have access. Because you ask most men that are probably not in this room, but in your circle that you know, probably 1 in 3 is probably uninsured. So just something else to raise as a barrier, but an opportunity.
Yeah, so you need support for that too, you know, to find out where you can go to, hey, I need insurance, what can I do? I don't have insurance, healthcare.gov or whatever, or there's groups out there that'll help you.
So
and stuff
I'll
like
give you a
that.
resource. I'm gonna give you something real tangible. Everybody in this room, put it in your phone, put it in your notes, wherever you get it. So Patient Advocate Foundation, that's what we do. We help people individually identify and enroll in health insurance, including identifying if there's a premium subsidy for which you may qualify. We do the application, we identify the resources, from utilities to if you are insured and you've ever had a course of care denied, working with you through the appeal process, to if you need to apply for Social Security disability, because the administrative barriers to care are just as critical to this process as being able to get in for screening. So patientadvocate.org is a resource that everyone can go in to reach out to, and if you have a phone, you can connect with us. All 50 states and U.S. territories. It's patientadvocate.org. That phone number, 1-800-532-5274. Because it's important, because we don't, I do this all over the country, and I hear the same thing. We don't know where the resources are. And so this, at least today, you're going to walk away with one resource. Now, the challenge is, do you keep it for yourself or do you share it?
I had a question in regard to resources for genetic testing. I had a personal experience where my son, who's 7 now, dealt with a pericardial infusion, and they found out that it was connected to a malformation in the RASA1 gene. And when we went to try to get more testing in regards to that, it was really difficult through the insurance to get genetic testing. So are there any resources in connection to helping people deal with the red tape and get genetic testing?
Well, when it comes to cancer, hereditary cancer genetic testing, because there's all kinds of hereditary genetic testing. But back in the early 2000s, when they were only testing 5 genes for hereditary cancer, the test cost over $3,000. Now, you can get a panel of genes, 48, 100, for $249. That would be the most out-of-pocket anybody would pay for a panel of genes for hereditary cancer now. So the cost has dropped significantly. Now, $249 is $249. You know, that's not, I mean, that's gas and groceries and things like that. But most hereditary cancer testing labs have a patient assistance fund. And if you qualify based on your income, then you can get the test done at no cost. That's what I do as part of my program through the Department of Public Health. Most of the women that I see and are referred to me for testing for hereditary cancer, we get the test done at $0, and that's always my goal. Good question, though. And I just want to say one thing. I love seeing all the men here, but all God's children got a colon. So please educate women, too, in your family about colon cancer screening, because we want everybody screened. That's right.
Once you make it,
Now that is a barrier because there are not as many GI specialists that we need to be doing these procedures.
yeah, but I could just go in
especially
for a
rural
common
Georgia.
physical, and it just takes a very long time to get an appointment to see anyone in the hospital field.
We need more fellowships, trained people to do colonoscopies, and that is a challenge, especially in rural Georgia.
Oh, okay. I
to
just
get
trying to
people-
get that appointment.
I mean, you know,
found out in my close circle of friends that the guys who were not going to the doctor because I go. I figure, one, I spend money on so much other stuff. I'm definitely gonna pay this $35, $45, $50 for my copay. Come on, man. We spend $100 on shoes, and you don't want to spend $35, $40 for a test. That makes no sense to me. But in my close circle of friends, the guys who weren't going, and just tell them, man, you either go or die. Go or die with it, man, and let them know it's worth it. Because again, we have our families, and the question going back to Mr. Mathis, and the fear of it, yeah, I have my own internal fear, but my biggest fear is my son not being educated. You know, it starts with family history, and since I didn't have it, and I'm the origin, I had to sit him down. I call it table talk conversations. We have those family discussions. We're gonna have a table talk conversation today, and it was just my son and I, one-on-one, man, oh man. This is what I have. You could potentially have it. So you gotta get tested. And I think that the beauty of mine, again, having a science background, not from my resume, I have a degree in chemistry, the biology, all that stuff, and I work in labs. So it was kind of interesting at one point to hear all that, but I still had to sit him down and educate him. Table talk conversations, have those conversations, and then talk to your friends about it. You know within your close circle of friends who's not going to the doctor, because we have those conversations. And let them know. And let them know and inform them.
In my journey, it's been a great journey. My father, 20 years ago, had some real issues with prostrate, which encouraged me to go and get checked out. And when I went to get checked out, to my surprise, my PSA was like at 9. And we went through the testing and the operation where the doctor took us in. But today, it's been a great journey. I went to my doctor this week, and unfortunately, he's still doing the old-fashioned way. But my joke with him every time is, "Hey, Doc, is there another way with all this technology?" And then I turn back around and say, if this gonna keep me alive, then we are together. And today it's Thursday, it was 3.3. But what the journey has been is the stress factor. And I appreciate the honesty in this place. But for the last 20 years, the stress factor has been on the relationship, because all those medicines destroy your sexual life. And what I heard in here today is many times we don't address the stress that comes. And my question as I sit here was, how can the church, what can we do a better job at that stress factor that we're dealing with? And unfortunately, the mind, as I've heard, and we've talked about, the mind has so much to do with the body, and especially in relationships. So what can the church do? And I heard so clearly I was that support, and not only support, I heard about these, they talked about my type man, the type person who was closest to me in my circle. And unfortunately, the church really hadn't addressed it as we should. And that's why, so my question is, what can we as a church, and even as others, as Alpha Brothers, and I appreciate that it became not just an issue for a particular brother, but it became an issue for the whole chapter. Yeah, it became an issue for the whole chapter because one brother or another brother, and how do the church become, and what can we do as a church? And believe you me, somebody talked about we didn't have the people here as we wanted. But let's be clear. Some of us are going to be on fire leaving here saying, hey, this is my testimony. We've got to do better. The church has to do better. And let's be clear. Unfortunately, most of these folks, many of these are members of this church here. So what is it that the church can do better in getting, well, first of all, in the stress level that we go through and building support groups as well?
Well, like Pastor behind you said, we need to get it out more, screening, how important it is. As you see up there, it says, gear up against cancer. That's what the NFL alumni have chosen to do. And if you go on Instagram or Facebook and look up NFL alumni, you'll see some public service announcements from some of us on there talking about it. And it's funny, we did it, and it went so viral that it was amazing. I was getting hit by people, thank you, I needed to know this, blah, 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 because some of us, like Brian, myself, my mom died from cancer, so it hit me hard. So as for you, what happens in the church is, I think when you do your morning announcements and it comes up on the screen, it has to have a PSA. I'm not saying it, well, it should have a PSA, say, hey, get screening, or you should have support groups that says, hey, we're having a support group every month talking about these things, right? And then you have cancer survivors in there. You have people in there that's going through chemo whatsoever. So now the word is getting out. It should not take a global trendsetter to die from it for everybody to say, oh, let's look at this now, right? And then we had a lot of questions here. You answered all the questions, what some of the barriers, getting to the clinics, getting to the doctors, whatsoever, those things that happens. Look, you got brothers that got cars. You got brothers that want to do the same thing. You can go as a group and say, hey, and you say, well, I can't get in. Well, don't wait. Set your appointment. If your appointment is a month away, you plan for that. If you set a vacation a month away, you get ready for that. It's the same thing with going to the doctor. I was blessed enough to marry a doctor, so every time my time come up, it's like,
Right.
it was so bad. Just about a month ago, she said, isn't it time for you to go back again? And she stayed on me for 2 weeks, right? And I'm like, no, it's not time. And I kept telling her it was time. I called my doctor. The doctor said, no, you got 5 more years. I said, I told you. But what I'm saying is, you have to have people that's going to hold you accountable to do these things, even though it's tough. Baby, let me know when I have to go to the doctor. You gonna fuss and don't want to, because that's just the nature of who we are. We had an interview earlier, and I was saying this. We never seen grandfather go to the doctor. We never heard of people in our community going to the doctor. Grandma give you that castor oil and said, boy, you healed, right? So it's been one of those things like, I don't want to go to no doctor. Like we just heard up front, he said, if I go to the doctor, they're going to find something wrong. Yeah, we as former athletes is fortunate enough every year to get our physicals when we were playing, right? And yeah, we've had the finger done and all that stuff, and you didn't want to get in that line. You wanted to go to the doctor who didn't do nothing about it, right? But now, as I'm 57 years old, I understand now. Here's the thing. If I can leave you with this, is that you have to do it if you love your family. If you love your family, you have to do it because they love you and they want to spend more time with you. I got grandkids now. And I want to play with them every day that they come over and whatsoever. I don't want them to come over and I'm sitting there because I'm pretty much dying, right? I want to live forever. So that's why I get tested. Not just for me, for my wife, my children, and my grandchildren. And that's what it is. We got to be, black men, we got to stop being so selfish and bullheaded and stubborn. It's okay to say we're not okay. It's okay to go see the doctor. And then you talked about the stress level. And then you talked about prayer. There it is. I've never seen God forsaken the righteous. I heard something, and I'm gonna leave. I said I was gonna leave you, but I'm in. He asked me earlier. He said, "Are you the preacher?" I said, "No, but I can preach." I heard something was so profound a couple of days ago, and it says, and the person said, "God is with us." Kept saying, "God is with us. No matter what, God is with us." And then the person said, "Are you with God?" You can say, "God is with me, God is with me," but are you with God? Are you plugged into the resources that he has for you to be healthy, prosperous? Right? That's the question you have. Are you with God? That's how you handle that stress. All right.
So I just wanted to say something real quick before we got to our closing remarks. This actually shows, this forum that we're a part of right now, it shows the importance of being able to have these dialogues, right? Because obviously we're in a trust tree, right, Pastor? Talking about the wood and all that. There's so many different things that we can open up as far as being comfortable with these discussions. That's why these are vital. That's why the programs that we are actually partnering with Omega Phi Psi, with the medical professionals, excuse me, Psi-Phi, didn't mean to get that wrong, right. But you see, that you actually felt comfortable enough to share some of your stories with us, right? These now are messages that resonate when we leave these forums to be able to have open dialogue with the people that are closest to us. So not only are you here as ambassadors to your own circles that can have these conversations, that then kind of, it projects the agenda that we're here for today anyway, right? Which is getting your screening done early, getting on top of it before it gets on top of you. So just as an observer and someone that has had some conversations with the participants from Omega Psi-Phi and from the medical field, right? That's one thing that I noticed, was that we are in an open forum, which it might not be to have after church on a Sunday, right? But creating an avenue that can be created like this to have these discussions is vital, because that's how we start getting help, is by talking about the issues. So I wanted to thank you all for being participants today, being here, so that way the messages that you do hear will translate into your own communities, therefore spreading the information.
Because I don't want to forget the questions. And I write down his or her answers, but ask questions. How often should I go to the doctor? What does this test mean? What's the range? I look at like I said, me from the lab, analytical. I look at the micrograms, the milliliters, everything. Point this, point that. Okay, what's the high range? What's the low range? What I got to do to bring it down? If it's up, if it's too low, what I got to do to put it in range? What caused it? Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what you pay for when you go to the doctor. Ask plenty of questions. Ask your friends. He said how to deal with the stress of it. I surrounded myself with men who had been through it. I had 2 or 3 I can call at any time of the day or night. Again, eliminated that time alone. Physical stress, I walked. I said, I don't play ball anymore, so there wasn't need, try to lift 350 pounds anymore. I can walk though. Mental and physical stress, because when you don't have that type of support or those things in place, it causes more stress. Then it causes you maybe not wanting to go back to the doctor. But do it. Put things in place to help you out mentally, physically, socially, spiritually. And and y'all talking about spiritually, he said what? He said that my people would perish for lack of knowledge. He never said the knowledge was unavailable. Ask questions, get the knowledge.
Okay, we're going to do one more. We're going to move on to the next question with good doctor.
I'll just say, stress, how we eliminate it is have more forums like this, so we are educated. And when you have the knowledge of what you need to do, if you want to continue to live a healthy life, then you have to be part of these type of forums. So stress is not that high, you know, because there's always somebody that you can call and talk to. But you have to be willing to do that and share with them what you're going through. But you must tell them the truth, because if you don't tell them the truth, they're going to help you based on a lie. So these type of forums help eliminate stress of what you're going through.
The question is, do you know what your long-term follow-up care should include, and do you feel like you have the necessary knowledge or tools to stay healthy? The second part of the question, I think, was asked and answered, or you guys discussed that in detail. But in regards to your follow-up care, for those of you that are already in that boat right now, you know what, it's your oncologist. Your oncologist, I guess, is basically your quarterback or your PCP nowadays for you. And I just want to say one thing about when you get your oncologist or your cancer doctor, I think it's very important that you pick, if you unfortunately are in that boat, that you are with somebody that you feel you have a good relationship with. And if you don't feel like you are getting your needs, or you don't feel like your questions are being answered, don't feel afraid to just say, hey, I'm going to move on to someone else or so forth to get what you need. That person is going to be obviously the most important person outside of your family for your foreseeable future in managing you, particularly when it comes to if you have colorectal cancer. Yes, you're going to be seeing this person every 3 to 6 months. Yes, you're going to be getting a CT scan every 6 months. Yes, you're going to be getting lab work probably every 3 to 6 months as well too. And that is going to continue for a while until you reach 5 years. And after 5 years, then you start backing off some. But then I understand, like many of you have already said, this is I don't know how to say it other than this is just the most anxiety-producing event or so forth, or PTSD that you're going to have. And it's going to be really important for you, for whomever that person is, your oncologist is, for you to have that understanding to say, okay, you're fine now. You're going to be okay. I do that all the time too. So a lot of times when I see a lot of cancer in what I do. And there are some times that I'm able to look people in the face and I'm going to say, you know what? You're going to be fine. And I know you're going to be fine. I'll see you next year for this test. Don't worry about this. You got this. And so the same thing applies to your oncologist, for you to have that good relationship with them as well. And I mean, I've lost hundreds of patients through the years with cancer and so forth. It's a very difficult thing to do. And even to this day now, when I have to tell somebody that they have something bad, I still don't know how to do it. I haven't figured it out. And I've been doing this for 20 years now, where I still can't sit down and tell somebody in a way that I feel like is not going to just pull, you know, the sheet from underneath them, or just basically decimate that person at that time. I haven't figured it out yet. And it's just a difficult message to give people. But yeah. That's it.
Can I just add, and it's something completely different, it's going back to what can be done. As you all are doing, as the NFL Alumni Association is doing these type of community engagement opportunities, the power of storytelling. So if you can really begin to curate these stories of survivorship so that men can see other men who have survived cancer, because that is not the narrative that usually plays out in our communities. It's always a narrative of doom and gloom. So we need to be able to show men who have survived cancer.
Well, thank you, everybody. We're going to get into our, a lot of the questions have been answered, and get into the closing arguments. I'm not arguments, closing remarks. I feel like a lawyer. I'm like I'm a lawyer. So we're not doing our lawyer talk today. Come on up, Elder Roan. I'll let Elder Roan go, and then I'll give my remarks. I'll let Elder Roan, so we'll stay in order. Here we go, Elder Roan.
I like that. He said these are the closing arguments. And we rest, and I like that. That's good. The closing arguments against cancer, and we rest our case. That's awesome. That's an awesome place for us to end. This has been awesome. And I think we ought to give ourselves some love. Nikki, I got some help back there. Nikki, Janet, thank you for the invitation to come and share. Thank you for the knowledge. And it was said, without knowledge, my people perish. Thank you, the Omegas. Thank you, NFL, because this is where we need to be. And personally, I have been moved to be able to tell the story, but then to hear the place of transparency, the place of, hey, we're stressed, and the stress affects where we are. So I think that this is a great, awesome collaboration. In some kind of way, it's the start of birthing in the shifting of a new movement for us. And if I can just be personal, for the black man. And let's be clear, if you talk about the black man, you're talking about the black sister too. And I heard that real clear today, that I'm talking about mine, but my wife could be as well. And need to say to her, baby, you. So I think it's a wonderful shift and a wonderful movement, and a movement that we just can't go back home and say, that was good, that was good. But one that we take on ownership, that with the awareness comes the responsibility to do something. So again, thank you for the collaboration and calling the church. What you've done, you've called the church into responsibility of its community. You've also called the brothers, the Afro brothers, and you've challenged me to go back to my brothers and say, hey, that's an issue that we can ill afford to not address. And the next time we'll have more Afros. Yeah. But with don't start there. But with the awareness comes the responsibility. And I heard clearly as a church leader, I have 25 churches, and my bishop, who's a part of this movement, 500 churches in Georgia. This got to be a part of our new movement, which is the move of God for the healing of the nation. And the healing of the nation has to start with one of the places we must start with cancer. And in particular for us today, colon cancer. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the honesty. Thank you for the new move of God that we need to move into that direction. and challenging us as church leaders to not just shout on Sunday morning, but to go do some real ministry that makes the difference in our lives. And that is my closing argument.
Thank you, Elder Roan. It is definitely a pleasure to be here with everyone. I'd like to thank, all the doctors, all my megas and everybody that came today to express yourself. One of the things that got me involved, I lost my mother to cancer. I mean, a lot of people up here have lost their parents. I lost my mother to cancer, and that, it's a tough road. We're in it together. We have a forum now. We're talking about it. One thing about it, when we talked about, I slipped up there and was talking about those closing arguments. But at the same time, the real closing argument is that out of this, we got the game plan. Whereas after we all talk about game plans and being ready and being prepared, now the challenge is to implement, to go out, be the ambassadors on the street, on the ground, in the meetings, at the barbershop, whatever the case may be, to get this word out. Don't let it just stay here. Don't let it settle and fester as we walk out the door. Let's carry this on day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, because it's a process. It's not going nowhere. We got to stay in the fight, but we have to be ready for the fight, but we got the plan to implement the fight. So let's stay with that and continue. I'd like to thank the players, Brian, Terrence, Perry, Brad. We came from near and afar to be here to spread the word, and we all understand what teamwork is and being together and whatever the case may be. But to be able to implement this plan and be able to have that closing argument out there, and don't be scared to talk about it, to share it. A lot of guys have opened up about some things, some sensitive topics. It's okay to talk about it, because there's a lot of times in class you don't raise your hand when you're young, but somebody asked the same question you were going to ask anyway, kind of thing. You wanted to know the same thing, but was too shy to raise your hand to ask the question. Well, now let's get beyond that, because now we're talking about lives. We're not talking about embarrassment. We're talking about our families, our legacies, going forward and continue to build on all those type of things that we have talked about. Elder Rome, we appreciate you to open up your doors in your house of worship and giving us the opportunity to be here and be able to share this. Nikki, I bow to you, because without you, none of this is possible. We really appreciate you. And the CDC, bringing us all together, our team, Janet, Katrina, for your work and efforts to make this possible as well. We really appreciate you guys. And I'll thank you. And we're going to continue this and continue to push this in the communities and other states, we'll be in Tennessee or Nashville. If anybody want to come through next month at Meharry Medical School, trying to do the same, doing the same thing and pushing the word. So, we continue to do this, but don't let it stop here. Let's keep the message going. Can we do that? At least can we do that to each other? Thank you. Well, appreciate it. I'd like to bring up my Omega brother over here at the Rick to close it out. And again, appreciate you bringing the guys and being able to express their stories and really being able to not only touch the players, touching us and everyone else. We have balls up here, but we'll wait. Also we have balls, and also we have, if anyone wants, we have some signature cards for guys for some autographs if you want some autographs too. So, and bags, so you don't leave empty-handed. And we have Latrice out here as well with the Georgia chapter. Latrice is a very popular athlete here, as you can tell. And so we have some great stories. She has been through it as well with her family. She lost her husband, who's a former player as well. She's big in our family. She's dear to our heart. Chris Dolman was her husband, or is her husband. Lost her husband, and she's dear to our heart. She's a part of the Georgia chapter as well, and it gives an opportunity to be here and be able to be in this setting as well. And she does great work with Perry and the people here in Georgia. So we are excited that she was able to come today too as well and give us this opportunity to work together. So thank you all very much. I'm gonna turn over to Rick so he can close it out as well, and then hang around, get your gifts, be able to sign a little bit, and do all those type of things as well. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Al. First of all, Latrice and I go to church together, and I've actually seen her play basketball. She's good. Obviously, she's very tall. To Reverend Rome, thank you very much for allowing us to be here today. Nikki, thank you very much for inviting us. Janet, thank you very much, wherever you are now. Sure, running. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Janet. First of all, what an awesome panel. Can we give them a hand? What an absolutely awesome panel. And, you know, I'm a physician, and I learned something today, a lot of stuff today, actually. And if you didn't learn anything today, you really you didn't come here to learn anything. But now that you know better, we should do better. We learned today that we need to be an advocate for our own health. And some of the brothers in here have told us about it. There's awesome stories that we've heard from all around the room. But we can't let this information die here. As Al just said, we cannot walk out of these doors and we never speak about this again. And I'd like the members of my chapter to please stand up right now. I wanted to be recognized, but keep standing, fellas, because I want to challenge us. Brother Buchanan leaned over to me and said, we need to challenge our chapter to do more things like this. We are excited about the partnership with the NFL alumni, and we look forward to doing more events with you. And hopefully we can get some of our brothers in Tennessee to meet you up at Meharry. And now that we can continue the Omega Psi Phi fraternity way of helping in the community. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for inviting us today. You will see us again, and you will always see us in our community. Thank you.
Before everybody gets up and move around, I want to do one thing. Can you stand, please? Yeah, we're going to present you with an autographed football, but we're going to throw it to you. And we got to see your celebration dance. You're next. Back up a little bit. I mean, you ain't no 2-year-old now. We're going. You gotta show some skills. What's show those skills? Man, you're not a little kid when you're right next to him. You say, "Here, cat." You like it. You back up a little further, man. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, man. I'm going there. Yeah, underhand to him. All right, let's see the dance. Let's see the dance. The celebration dance. If you need to work on that one, man, that's your ball. That's your ball. That's for you. Come on, my brother, get on up. Let's see what Omega Psi Phi got. The tail end of 1911. Let's see what you got now. Can't let him show you up. Can't let him. You got to go long, man. You got to go long. You got to catch this over the shoulder. Over the shoulder. Yeah. Terrence Mathis. That man used to go deep all the time. Man, you better go deep. All right. One hand. Let's see the dance. Let's see the celebration dance. You ain't supposed to set the ball down to do it. You can't fumble. You can't fumble. Yeah, he stopped at the 1-yard line and set the ball down and celebrated, and we recovered the ball.
If you guys want any autographs, I think we need some markers. Just kind of put this. So that concludes everything today, guys. If you want to come up, get anything, get your bag and some goodies, or an autograph if you choose. We appreciate everybody. Thank you. It's a great day.
We're also available to take pictures if you guys want to.
Yes. Dr. Elderon and Rick, we need a picture.
What we hope is that